I'm excited about this.
I'm all for being woke, but let's not be stupid about this. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
Right.
exactly.
One of the things about being woke is understanding that other people have other interests, and so
Sure.
therefore you should just fuck off. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. But that doesn't mean that other people can't read it if they choose to. I mean, how hard is that to understand?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
I don't argue that the Second Amendment does say you have the right to bear arms. Why do they think that the First Amendment of free speech doesn't cover free speech?
Yeah.
Right?
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Name of Pod. I'm Andrea Lee here with Robert and Jeremy, and today we are going to be talking about books because apparently there are a lot of folks out there that have problems with literature these days. Specifically, we'll be discussing some of the most commonly banned books in the United States, the Florida House bill that is making teachers' lives a nightmare, and how ridiculous some of these standards have become from both sides, quite frankly. And we will also finish out this episode with something a little more lighthearted in a segment we are calling #TwitPlease. So let's get started. Robert, you have a brilliant observation that led us into this conversation. So let's begin with that. Please do tell us about the Turner Diaries.
This is a book that has been prohibited to be sold in Canada for years, and the Canadian government has termed it hate speech. More recently, it has been distributed in the United States by a publisher known as Barricade Books, whose head of the company believes it should be available to the public. Now, the Turner Diaries, you have to understand, written in 1978, is said to have inspired Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber. And it describes how white supremacists launch an anti-government race war, which leads to the systematic extermination of people of color and Jews in the United States. I should mention that the head of Barricade Books is Jewish. And even though it suggests that he should be killed, he believes people should have the right to read this book. And I agree with him. Even though I read parts of it in the 1980s and I was absolutely appalled. It is violent, it is racist, it is unrealistic, it is prejudiced, and it is abhorrent. Yet I agree totally it should be available, just like Hitler's Mein Kampf. We do not need to ignore the past. We must learn from it, whether we like it or not. And yet what is happening in today in our country is conservative governments and their adherents are literally banning constructive novels covering the past and present and the realities of our modern world. I find no greater irony today than the fact that Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, a book about a future society where the government bans the reading of books, has been pulled from library shelves.
Yeah, that's a amazingly ironic point, right? And also, speaking of some of the most currently top banned books, I had lent one of my nieces. She's a freshman in high school currently, and I lent her my copy of Mouse by Art Spiegelman. And for those of you who don't know, Mouse is a graphic novel. That's Maus, spelled the German way. It's a graphic novel that tells a survivor story about the Holocaust, in which the Jewish people are depicted as mice and the Nazis are depicted as cats. And anyway, it's a really powerful, informative story. It was, I believe, it was the grandfather of the writer that told him his story, and he chose to depict it this way. And here's the weird thing: apparently, it was banned because there are nude animals in the illustrations.
That's so
Which,
slave.
I mean, unless you're
Heaven
putting a
forbid.
dress on your dog, animals are naked. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not the real reason for that. Pretty sure it had something to do with the historical content concerning the Holocaust. Fun fact, Mouse is also the only graphic novel at this point, anyway, that has ever won a Pulitzer Prize. And while it might be one of the top most banned in the country currently, let's talk about the top 10 all-time banned books in the US. Robert has done the research to put this list together for us. So Robert, drum roll, please. Would you care to give us the detailed list?
Oh, absolutely. It is a very interesting list. It has some of the books that are considered masterworks in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And every title will be recognizable. This is all time. The more current list, like you say, Mouse, which is number one on the
Mm-hmm.
current list.
Yes.
There are many more, but top 10 all time. Some of these will surprise you. Some of them you won't be surprised. But let's start with number 10.
Mm.
To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Yep.
Why do people protest this fantastic, wonderful book that's been made in one of the most beloved movies of all time? Because, well, it uses the N-word and it deals with racial issues.
Yep.
We will talk about later that racial issues constitutes almost half of all bookman assessments. Number 9, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, another award-winning movie. It's been called pornographic, that it glorifies criminal activity, that it's brutal, it's violent. That's all true. But it set a mental asylum at a time when we really did not understand mental illness.
That's right.
Number 8, John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, which my own daughter was assigned in high school just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Racial issues is number 1, although there is also some violence in it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, William Golding's Lord of the Flies, one of the greatest books about adolescence. It makes me laugh that people object to it because it's cynical and portrays humanity as, quote, selfish, unquote. I am sorry. We have met the enemy as he is us. We are selfish. We are cynical.
Yeah.
Number 6, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The other half of protests often have to do with racial issues. And this autobiography by Maya Angelou, one of the great voices of the boomer generation, contains honest depictions of rape, racism in America, and teen pregnancy. Gee, that never happens in Texas. Oh, wait, we're number 1, aren't we? Okay, never mind. Number 5, The Great Gatsby, hailed as a masterwork of American literature. It deals with racial and immigration issues, anti-Semitism, and many suggest that F. Scott Fitzgerald was actually a closeted homosexual, and that his characters are homosexual, well, veiled homosexuals or bisexuals. I don't get it, but okay.
I don't get it either. I had to read that one in school. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard that as well. They're depicting that. Yeah.
Number 4,
more fluid sexuality. Yeah,
sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Number 4, not surprising, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. If you've seen the Steven Spielberg movie, you get it alludes to the sexual explicitness, explicit language, the violence, the homosexuality, all things that we just got to keep out of our schools and don't let people think about.
Right.
But it's okay to see the movie. That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 3 will surprise no one. The Catcher in the Rye.
Yep.
From 1961 to 1982, it was the most censored book in high schools and libraries in America.
Oh, really?
When it was originally released, people said it was an overall communist plot.
Oh my
Protests focus on the language,
Okay.
sexuality,
Yeah.
sexual references,
Uh-huh.
blasphemy, drinking, smoking,
Right.
lying, and promiscuity. Oh
Oh,
my.
how
Number
dare a
2.
teenager do those things?
Number 2. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain's masterwork involving a white boy and a black slave who become close friends. Well, we just can't have that, can we?
Nope.
Protests
So
are
now,
for
now,
nope.
now they call it inward Jim. I mean that's
Inward
that's
Jim, yes.
what else too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crudeness, vulgarity, racial stereotypes, use of the
Mhm.
N-word.
Mhm.
Those are the reasons people complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 on our list, George Orwell's 1984.
It's too real. They're
It's-
afraid of us learning what they're doing.
2 + 2 = 5, bitches. Let's go.
It is considered subversive and ideologically corrupting.
Oh my
A book
God.
about censorship leads the censorship list.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our top 10 list of all time. Some of the greatest novels ever written.
Yeah.
I wish we could make those glasses from They Live, the one on the Roddy Piper would wear to be able to like hidden messages and all that, and just hand them out to the world. Just,
Yeah.
hey, free glasses. Just take a peek, see what you see.
Well, you know what I think is even like Robert was even saying, honey, I'm sorry, I lost track. Which one did you say that was just assigned to you, your daughter in high school, like fairly recently?
Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, with the exception of Mice and Men, and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I've read excerpts from that book, but I have not read the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
All of the rest of the top 10 were assigned reading for me between the ages of about 12 and 18.
Yeah. I would say about half of them were also
assigned reading.
Starting
with Huck Finn.
I'm a boomer and you're Gen X.
Yep, the youngest of.
So yeah, we're a little younger, but yeah, many of these books are still assigned and recommended reading for teenagers.
I mean, I wrote a whole term paper on 1984, my senior year in high school. We had to read, we read 1984, and we also read, and I'm sure this is somewhere in the top 100 as well, but wait, how do you say his first name? Is it Attalus or Attalus Huxley, right? Brave New World?
Yes, Aldous Huxley.
Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. We read Brave New World in 1984, and you basically had to choose which one you wanted to write on. And I chose 1984 because it was a little darker and more compelling to me for some reason. But
I should mention we will get into some of the more modern censored books later on.
Yeah. Definitely.
And many of these books you can see the film adaptations on Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, you could watch the movie Netflix or whatever. We're not sponsored, but yeah, like there's so many places where you could just easily watch. I mean, at least 8 of these, I think. No, maybe 7 of them have been actually made into films. I don't think there's a Catcher in the Rye film.
I don't either.
But I mean, Yeah, you can go watch it, but you can't read it in school, you know. Like don't do that.
Well, one of the things that I read, the reasoning behind, was so that the parents can choose if their kids want to or not. But in a school environment, this is their idea behind it. And in a school environment, one kid's parents might not be cool while the other ones are. So therefore, we got to go with the not cool and just not do it. I kind of
Right.
get what they're saying, what they're doing, but I also think that it is. I just don't agree with censorship in any sense of
Well,
form.
the problem with
Yeah.
And
that
they're
is
not
that
protecting anybody from anything, honestly.
the
Yeah.
problem with that approach, it's fine for your child, but when you tell my child what they can and cannot read, we got a
Mhm.
problem. We have a
That's
big problem.
right. And
Don't
this is a good
Right, it
time.
goes both ways.
Good time. Yeah, it does go both ways. And this is a good time to get into that Florida law, Robert.
yeah.
I've read some of it. I know Jer skimmed some of it today, but I know you really kind of dug into it a bit. So do you want to explain to us like some of the more like egregious aspects of this specific House bill that they're presenting Florida, which is it's Florida House Bill 1467, correct?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Signed by Governor Ron DeSantis
Mm-hmm.
on March 25th of last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a law that ostensibly is to keep pornography out of the schools. Pornography, bestiality, sadomasochism. Doesn't say anything about bondage and discipline, but that DeSantis can do what he wants to with himself. Basically, any sexual conduct, sexual battery is, as the Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. says, who could be against that? Well, let's go back a little bit. Before he signed 1467, DeSantis also signed House Bill 1557. It's
Mm-hmm.
called the Parental Rights in Education Act.
Oh, there you go.
Other people called it the Don't Say Gay Bill. Now, what it says in its face is for kindergarten through third grade, that teachers are prohibited from providing class instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity.
Hmm.
Now, the people who are in favor of this say we're just prohibiting sex stuff. The
Right.
problem is the bill does not prohibit, quote, sex stuff. As a matter of fact, there's nothing in the bill keep a teacher from instructing first grade students on masturbation, on genitalia, or even sexual intercourse. It says nothing about that. What it says is sexual orientation and gender identity.
Interesting.
Yes, there was even a state senator who wanted to change the wording from sexual orientation and gender identity to simple human sexuality. But the sponsor, let me make sure I get his name right, Republican State Senator Dennis Baxley, in testimony, heard about this and said, no, we can't do that because if we change it to human sexuality, it will, quote, gut the intent of the bill.
Mm.
Beyond that,
Yeah.
beyond that, there was
Wow.
already a rule in Florida that said any kind of sexual education in Florida public schools, this goes all the way up to high school, must, not shall, not can, must emphasize monogamous heterosexual relationships.
Mm. Jeez.
1557 was an obvious, and admittedly an attack on homosexuality, parentage, and sexual orientation, identity. As a matter of fact, Senator Baxley, the sponsor of the bill, specifically said this bill is designed to keep books that talk about, quote, Sally has two mommies and Johnny has two daddies out of the schools.
And then 1467 just took that further with the books, right? Specifically.
Took that further with the books, and it says that teachers can, well, let me back up a little bit. It requires that all books in the schools be reviewed by basically a media clerk, somebody who's trained by the state, like a librarian or somebody in the school district,
right?
Will have to go through training. Now, in the meantime, teachers they can box up all their classroom libraries, they can cover up the books, or they can enter their books into the district cataloging system.
Oh my gosh.
To check to be approved. By the way, if they make any of these unapproved books available to students, they can face third-degree felony charges, which could mean up to 5 years in prison. That's equivalent to what you could get for manslaughter in Florida.
Right.
We've also been told, haven't verified, but it makes sense, that students cannot bring their own books from school because they have not been vetted as well.
Right. So if they have a book from home
and it's not on the approved list.
Yeah, if it's not on the, so mom and dad, obviously are obviously they think that book is appropriate for their child because that child has that book, right? So
exactly.
But if they bring that book to school and it's not on the approved book list, that child could get in trouble or have the book confiscated or something.
Have the book, I assume, have the book confiscated. We're probably gonna have to have a court case to decide this.
Yeah, probably, because that's a pretty unclear issue as to whether you're going to punish a small child for reading. I don't.
Right.
Seems pretty messed up to me.
The United States is very good at banning books across the U.S. As of 2021. 1,648 books have been banned from high schools and libraries.
Ouch.
But not including the ones that you brought up at the very beginning of the episode.
The ban.
So messed up.
There's no place better at it than my own home state of Texas, where 801 books have been banned from the shelves. Wow. Followed closely by Florida, which will probably overtake us after they implement this law, 516, and then Pennsylvania at 457.
So, Robert, earlier you had told me, I got to bring this up real quick. You had told me, and remind me which stats the state was from, because I can't remember if it was from a specific state or if it was just overall, that 41% of book protests or bans, whatever, are tied to LGBTQ issues and gender identity.
That is correct.
And that 40% are banned because they deal with a main character or like a secondary character, best friend, something like in the situation of Huck Finn, who are people of color.
Yes, that is the nationwide number.
That's the nationwide. Wow. So wow. Okay.
81% of all protests have to do with either sexual orientation or racism. Let's not put too fine a point on it. It's
right.
racism.
Yeah. Wow. Racism and bigotry lead the polls, man. On this.
So it's obviously both sides pulling on this rope. Honestly.
Oh yeah. Let's get into that part too, because we need to talk about what's going on currently with Roald Dahl, which as of today, for historical reference, this is being recorded on Saturday, February 18th, and today Roald Dahl was trending all over Twitter because they're rewriting his books to make them less offensive.
And for those who don't know, this includes Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yep.
Which was made into Willy Wonka. James and the Giant
Augustus. And Augustus is no longer fat. He's now enormous. Now, go to a fat person someday and be like, "Oh, honey, you're not fat. You're just enormous," and see how that blows over for you.
Yeah, I'm all for wokeness, but come on,
That's ridiculous.
Augustus Gloop was fat, and there's no way to
represent that. I've brought this up. The children specifically in that book represent some of the cardinal sins. Augustus Gloop represented gluttony.
Gluttony and greed and sloth. All of them were in there.
Greed was Veruca Salt. Vanity was Mike TV. Wait, what one was Violet? What
wait, no.
The hubris.
Now I'm starting to wonder, because Vanity would also have been Veruca.
Yeah, she could have been both. She could have been Vanity and Greed.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they combined a few of them into one character.
Yeah, but they definitely represented the cardinal sins.
Mike TV would have been Sloth.
Well, Sloth, he could have been Sloth and Vanity though, because all he ever wanted to be was on TV.
Right, true.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything else. All he wanted to
do was watch TV.
Oh, you're right. That's a really good point. Oh, well done. See, it's an important story, and the descriptions of the characters are done in a way that makes you hate them because you're supposed to.
It's another way of telling children the 7 deadly sins.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's an important story. But they're also, I saw a couple today on Twitter, some of the rewriting that was done in The Witches. Oh my God, it doesn't even make sense. It's not even the same. It's not even the same story anymore.
Yeah, no, that whole business with the bald heads. That was absolutely insane. Well, it's okay for some people, or however they worded it. I'm like, what? It just completely destroys the whole meaning of the reason why they're wearing the wigs, because they're bald. Yeah. Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah,
they're grotesque creatures in depiction of the story.
Yes,
you know.
And I actually saw a great tweet today. I'm paraphrasing, but it was like a British writer, and he put up this great tweet. It was like, look, the reason kids love Roald Dahl books is because the baddies are disgusting, they're grotesque, they're nasty and evil, and they always get their comeuppance, always. And the good little kid always wins. That's like the point of Roald Dahl stories, because he hated kids, and just be a good kid and you'll win against all the baddies. You just have to behave yourself. That was pretty much the whole message of any one of his books.
Nothing sweet like, don't worry, honey, you can battle them demons. No, nothing sweet like that.
No, but then if you take something like the BFG, which is actually pretty sweet for the most part, James and the Giant Peach. I know, I love the BFG. What are they gonna fuck up the BFG too?
They better leave that the fuck alone, goddammit.
Oh, I'd be so pissed. I know, back off the BFG. God damn it.
So yeah, it's not just the religious and conservative groups that are targeting LGBTQ issues and racial issues. It's the other side, the side we normally are with. Are also trying to impose their will on people. And just like the Turner Diaries, just like Mouse, just because you don't agree with this, you shouldn't be allowed to say, no, you can't touch it. You can't think it. This is 1984 all over again. It is thought police.
They're rewriting. It's literally 1984. They're rewriting history to suit what matches what is happening currently. That is the whole premise of 1984. That's what they do.
Which is why it's number one. They don't want you getting ideas of their ideas.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I said earlier, 2 + 2 = 5, bitches, watch out. That's what they're aiming for.
Absolutely.
One of the other ironies about 1984 is that It was about a man who was tasked with working on a book that was only circulated within the inner party.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and
Yes.
their board is forcing us to do the same thing in our own inner parties, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the similarities are just
they're stunning. Yes,
absolutely stunning. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I was trying to think of the right word. That is a great word, because it's like, no, like when Orwell wrote this, you know, he said 1984, but let's face it, he was only off by a couple decades. Like,
they really are.
Oh, here we are. Like, why did he have to? We don't want people who write dystopian novels to be correct. That is not the point. And I do think
Yeah,
I know this.
I know we're talking about America here, but have you guys seen what's going on in China?
Oh God, yeah.
It's happening there, and it's leaking over this way too. I mean, it's just a matter.
It's bad. It's just bad everywhere, and it's. I mean, no matter what side it's on or what, all of it is stupid. It's like, leave the literature alone. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. But that doesn't mean you can't tell me not to read it. Because
well, the specter of censorship brings up another point about the Florida law. And during my research into this, I came across a TikTok video of all things.
Yes.
Of a teacher who, at the beginning of her video, was holding up her hand to display that she was literally shaking in frustration. And she began talking about the impact of this law on Florida teachers, and how half of the staff was crying and half of the staff were talking about walking out. Florida, by the way, already has a teacher shortage, so that would be devastating. But her point was that all the teachers have to scan each of their library books that they keep in their classrooms, and it will take at least up to 2 weeks to be vetted by the media clerk or whoever it is. She then started showing how many books she has in her classroom. Hundreds. And she opened cabinet door after cabinet door, showing about 20 bookshelves stuffed with instructional materials. She's got to catalog every book. She has to scan every book to get it approved. The expensive the anchor charts that she uses, they got to be vetted. Anything that she's bought with her own money, it has to be approved.
Oh, even like her little like the little task cards for the students, because she's a elementary school teacher. Yeah, so they all have to be little task cards that are like, you know, wipe the chalkboard or something. It all has to be vetted.
Yes, everything has to be vetted. If you're this is a quote: if you're teaching a topic and the kids are just not getting it, you know what? They're just not going to get it. Because if you want to give them a YouTube video to help them understand, guess what? 2 weeks, got to wait for it to be vetted.
Yeah. That struck me too. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to do their jobs under these conditions? Honestly?
That's
the point.
Because her point is, who's doing all this work? She is. All the teachers down the hall are doing all this work. As she put very sarcastically, with all of our free time, extra time.
Yep.
Yeah, because obviously it can't be during like school time. So when else is she going to do it? Obviously, it's got to be her own time.
I mean, she has thousands of dollars, and I mean, there's no telling how much money she spent on her own. Right. She has thousands of dollars of books that, for now at least, she cannot use, and there's no telling how many are going to be thrown out. By the way, we would have just played audio from the video.
Yeah.
But I contacted her to see if that would be a problem. And she asked for anonymity because her video kind of went viral-ish. And she's already been called into the principal's office and read the riot act for making these videos.
Mm-hmm.
This is her quote. "I just want to do my job, but politics are making that impossible. And it's clear that we are being censored and silenced."
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, she was like, I mean, I watched that video as well, and I can't imagine what it would have been like, because 20 years ago, I was a substitute teacher in California, and I ran an after-school program for ESL students, English as second language for those who don't know what that means. And all my kids were, Mexican. They're the children of migrant workers and stuff. And we had this awesome program. I got to pick the supplies. I got to pick the materials. In the after school program, we tutored them with their homework. And a lot of, it was a lot of like just understanding certain words and things because they're doing their homework. They're smart kids, but the language barrier could be difficult. So I'd have to explain things to them. And especially back then, my Spanish was still good enough. I haven't spoken in a long time, but you catch my drift. I could use whatever I needed to use to help those children understand. And the only person I had to run my materials by was the guidance counselor of the middle school, because this was a middle school program. And if he was like, he was never like, no. He was like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Run with it, kiddo. Like he was my boss. I just had to run materials by him. But to think about having to have a 2-week waiting period to, like, if I'm trying to help this kid with his English homework and I can't show him a funny video that's like Spanish and English to like explain something to him, I gotta wait 2 weeks for that shit to be vetted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not helping him with his homework today, is it? Like,
It's not helping anybody.
It's ridiculous. Because like a teacher's gonna show a child something inappropriate at a young age or a certain age.
Today we're going to learn
ridiculous.
about anal sex, kids.
Yeah, right.
Like, penis in a butthole.
Yeah, what do they think? Exactly. Thank you for making a terrible joke, because yes, that is my point exactly. Like, what the hell do you think teachers are going to show children?
I'd also like to point out that
ridiculous.
This is an elementary school teacher. You send your kid off to school,
Yeah, that's just she's elementary school.
You send a kid off at like 7 o'clock in the morning. They come home about 4 o'clock. That teacher may very well spend more time with your kid than a parent ever does.
Mm-hmm.
You think they don't care about those kids?
Of course
they do.
They would not do that job if they didn't care. That job is thankless. It doesn't pay enough.
You don't think they don't have those kids' best interest at heart?
Of course.
I would say fuck you.
My first boyfriend, his mother was for, I don't know, probably 40 years or better, a teacher, an elementary teacher. And she was actually my teacher once when I was in kindergarten. And she remembered me when I stopped by to pick up her son. And I knock on the door. She opens the door and she goes, "Jeremy?" I go, "Miss Houchen?" I'm like, holy shit! But she fucking remembered me as from 5 years old, to now 18.
Yeah,
she knew who I was.
That's right.
Me.
That's right.
If that tells you how much they don't care about their kids.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She fucking recognized me and knew who I was the moment she saw me, and that 13 years had gone by, and she still knew who I was. So
that's awesome. I'm glad we brought up the teachers because
they're going through
a lot. They're going through a lot, and it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the kids who are being deprived. Some of these books that we all had to read as classroom assignments, right? Like that's just, I don't know, it's just crazy to me. And Oh my gosh. Okay, we talked about Roald Dahl, but we haven't even gotten into like Dr. Seuss or Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Like,
Now, that's when it's going to start to sting, honestly. I mean, the older books
like
that hurt.
you can read Mein Kampf, but you can't read Harry Potter. Sorry, kiddo. Like,
Oh, witchcraft. Can't have that. No.
yeah, witchcraft. Fascism is
No,
okay.
but genocide is okay. That's fine.
Yeah, fascism, genocide, that's fine. But witchcraft, oh no. No, no wizards for you, child. None.
As a matter of fact, since 2000, probably the most protested books are the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, the Alice series, that's like 25 books.
Now, when you say the Alice series, we are talking about In Wonderland.
No, but that is in the top 100.
Okay, then what is the Alice series?
Alice, Alice, it's about a young girl growing up, going through adolescence. And occasionally she talks to her father about sexuality. Very minor things, but people get better.
Is it a children's book or
young adult?
Young adult series, right?
And it follows her from like pubescence up to age 60. And then the chocolate war always shows up on lists because language, intimidation by students to enforce cultural norms, sexual ponderings, the usual stuff.
How dare they?
Yeah.
How dare they?
Gee, it's about teenagers. What the hell
all the usual
going
stuff
on out there?
Can't talk about being a teenager apparently, because these are all the ones that are flying off the shelves.
And
I really wonder if these people even remember being a teenager, and if they do, then like what the hell did you do? Like,
yeah, right.
Like, if this is what you think teenagers are out doing, and they're going to get ideas from this and do worse, then what exactly did you do? How many bodies are still unidentified out in the field somewhere because of some kegger you had? Like what the fuck, man?
Oh my god, that's so funny.
God damn, these people! I just understand them. Let kids be kids first off, and honestly, teenagers. See, this is the thing that I have.
How long is it going to take them to ban like Stand By Me or The Goonies or something?
Right.
Like,
right. I cannot believe that the Lord of the Flies is on that list. Like, seriously, that like you brought up, it is just a study in adolescence and human nature. It's what happens if we take a handful of kids and we throw them on a resort island and leave them alone?
Let's see what happens.
Right. What a great reality show that would make. Yes.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's just it. You could make a reality show out of that now, but you cannot read it in a book.
No, can't read the book. Yeah.
Right. Survivor Kindergarten Edition.
And another author that frequently ends up on censored lists that taught me how to read was Shel Silverstein.
Oh my god, I love him.
The man who wrote the songs "Purple People Eaters" and "A Boy Named Sue." No,
and he wrote "The Giving Tree." Oh,
and "The End of the Sidewalk" and so many other things.
Where the sidewalk ends.
Where the sidewalk
ends.
Yeah, where the sidewalk ends.
In the attic.
And
a light in the attic.
Wait, what? A Light in the Attic. I had both of those, and then the other one was oh wait, what is it? The Missing Piece. It was the missing piece. It was the little circle that's rolling, and then he finds the triangle. It was the missing piece. Yeah, that was I think that was the third one. Because I think Where the Sidewalk Ends was first, right? And then Light in the Attic. And then I think it was The Missing Piece was after that. But I had all of them, man. My nieces and nephews have those books now. Yay. Keeping it in the family. Let's go, kids. No, seriously. Because those books are genius. Like all the old Dr. Seuss books, all of
oh my god, you guys are gonna break my heart. You guys are gonna break my heart if you answer this incorrectly. Please, please do not tell me that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is on the list.
Uh,
I don't
I haven't gone over
know.
the whole. No, I don't remember seeing the top 10.
But that's
But it's
not to say it couldn't be in the top 100, hun.
okay.
Like, if we
I
looked up the
know,
whole
and that would
list.
break my heart. I mean, honestly, when I was a kid, the librarian saw that I checked those books out so often that when we had a book fair, she pulled me aside and said, "Hey, did you notice?" And all the books were in there. I'm like, I just about shit myself. I'm like, Mom, I have to. I begged and pleaded. I'm like, I will do anything.
I'll clean my room every day for the next month. I swear.
And so she bought them for me too, and I still to this day own them. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there was a fourth book that was put out after the author had died. I can't remember if it was like his son or just a fan. I think it was just a fan. But there was a fourth book that was put out in the theme of. I bought that too, and it's definitely not as good. But just a little fun factoid that some might not know, that there is actually a fourth book, not by Charles Schwartz. Charles Schwartz? Was Charles Schwartz, wasn't it?
I love that he's getting to go check. That's great.
Well, while he's checking his books,
it's Alvin.
Oh.
It's Alvin Schwartz.
There we go.
Alvin.
Oh, yes.
Not Simon or Theodore, but Alvin.
Yes. Oh, those are great. For the people that won't see this video, Jeremy is showing us his collection. I know, right? And then
this is the fourth book.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
A tribute to terror.
It's a tribute. Kind of like that Tenacious D song. This is not the real Scary Stories. This is just a tribute.
Didn't even Dr. Seuss come under a lot of fire? Well, some of his books were.
Well, at one point, the reason, okay, as far as I understand it, the reason with the Dr. Seuss thing was that so the Dr. Seuss estate, because Theodore Geisel, I think his name was pronounced, he passed away a long time ago at this point, but at some point his estate decided they were going to pull like I think it was 5 books. They were just going to stop publishing these 5 books because they were written a very long time ago and could be today seen as being very stereotypically racist or something like that, racial stereotypes, whatever. So they willingly, all on their own, just pulled these 5 books. They're like, you know what? There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Dr. Seuss books that are awesome. We're just not going to publish these anymore because different time, different place, really maybe even borderline appropriate at the time. So like, they decided to remove them. And then Fox News, of course, got their panties in a knot about it. And they were like, oh, they're banning Dr. Seuss. It's like, no one is banning Dr. Seuss. The Dr. Seuss estate said, we're like not publishing these 5 books anymore. They didn't pull them off the shelves. They just said, we're not publishing these anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
And what I find hysterical about this is that I go to a bookstore we have nearby. It's one of the big chain bookstores. Again, we don't have any money, so I'm not going to say names. But it's a big chain bookstore, and it's got right up front has like a banned bookshelf. And I've literally read like every single book on this shelf, and the one that shocked me the most being on that shelf was the Lorax.
Oh God.
The Lorax.
The Lorax.
Fuck your trees.
Yeah. I guess we're not allowed to talk about saving trees either. Like, I don't, it's because, yeah, again, okay, there's naked mice and mouse. Mouse don't wear clothes. Like, I don't, okay. And the Lorax, oh no, we
Donald
can't
Duck doesn't have pants either.
Is it because he's an orange monster? I don't, like, why? No, it's because it's about the story. It's about preserving the environment. But yeah, I don't get the thing with the Lorax. I'm like, and I even asked the guy at the store, I was like, this is seriously on the banned book list? He goes, yeah, when the top 100 came out, this was actually, he goes, it was towards the bottom. He's like, don't get me wrong, but I had to put it on the shelf because I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, you're right, that is ridiculous. And thanks for pointing that out, dude. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense.
Google, let me know.
Zero sense. But Lord of the Rings, like, yeah, again, Lord of the Rings, like, really? You can't read Lord of the Rings? I read that shit in like 9th grade. Oh my God. Yeah. I can't imagine being deprived of that. Well, I guess I could read it at home as long as I didn't bring it to school. But oh my God. Seriously.
We need to wrap this up, and I'd like to say one more thing about the Florida law.
Yes, sir, please do.
That there is one book that definitely should be banned under the Florida law based on sexual situations alone. It's a very popular book, but it also mentions witchcraft, the sacrificing of children, rape, sodomy, slavery. And that book is called the Bible.
Do not read the story of Lot. Do not. ban that story. Oh no. Jesus, that one that covers everything you just said right there in the story of Lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's only one.
There's just one.
So if you're going to apply these standards to books about race and LGBTQ and sexual orientation and gender identity, let's apply it to Christianity as well. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, you listening, Christians? You push the most disturbing story ever written on everybody, but yet you want to take away any other story that you deem unworthy.
And don't get us wrong. We have no problem with your faith.
No, it's the hypocrisy that we have problems with.
Yes.
Yes.
That is correct. And with that being said, because I agree all the way with all of that, yeah, I'm not into banning books for any reason. I'm not into rewriting books. And this is a good time to segue into our little, we're going to finish this off a little lighthearted, into a hashtag twit, please, because
please,
like I said, I'm not going to ban books or rewrite them, but I will block a supposed writer who has been trolling me on Twitter through multiple accounts. It's been like playing a game of whack-a-mole. This guy has so many alts. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I already blocked like 6 of them, and then I had to block another one the other day. I was just like, take a hint, dude. Oh my God. But yeah, I called it my Block You series because it's like, this is just insane. Nope, just keeps popping up. It is. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. And I almost look forward to it now. Like if I see another list, I'm like, fuck, remove from conversation. Like, no.
Who does a PS5 when you've got this, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, Jesus, dude. I mean, it's kind of fun. I'm almost like waiting for it now. I'm like, where are you, motherfucker? You know, like, I'm ready for you. Remove from list, block.
I've
But
had
yeah,
a
it's
problem.
kind of
Go ahead.
I just can't imagine the person that spends that much time, because I don't even know how many, like, if you can have like so many alt accounts with one email address, or if you have to have a different email address for every single account. If so, this guy has dozens of email accounts. And I'm like, I don't even know. Like,
Well, what's the
what are
end
you
goal,
doing?
really? I mean, like,
I don't
have you got
know.
have you gotten any scam kind of DMs or anything? Like, hey,
No, it's just
it's
like
like
constant listing, constant listing. There's no content, there's no information. It's
that's
just
so weird.
constant listing. It is the weirdest thing. And I'm just like, block, 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 block.
Maybe he's just trying to gain his own following, and he's
I
going
mean,
about it all wrong.
well, if you were, you think you would focus it on one, maybe two accounts, not like spread it out over dozens. But now I just kind of look forward to, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to block your ass again. This is going to be great. Just
I've had to deal with somebody who's a little weird. A couple of spaces, where we're just chatting with other people, and all of a sudden, this guy and one or two friends will show up, and all of a sudden, you'll realize that there have been hundreds of porn put up on the nest, at the top of
oh
the page.
shit. Yeah. Oh
I mean,
god,
out of
that's terrible.
nowhere.
Like the
And then,
bot spam.
yeah,
Oof.
and then one of his buddies will start playing weird soundboard sounds of screams and just bizarre noises. And invariably, the two times I run across them, they tried to blame me for the porn spam. When I was like, no, that's not me. That's somebody named Ricky Ticky Bob, who I've reported to Twitter twice, but apparently they're letting him keep operating. I
Oh
don't.
jeez.
Yeah, but if I see him again, I'll report him again. We'll play that game. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind it if I'm getting a kick out of it, because honestly, like I said, when I get to the point where I'm like, what are you doing, dude? I'm like, I love how much time you're wasting, because it literally only takes me 2 seconds to go poop. Bye. Like
Keep on whacking the mole.
wagon and mo. Jerry, you got one?
Yeah, actually, just recently today, in fact, I opened up Twitter to like, oh look, I got a whole bunch of followers, and I don't just automatically follow back.
Right.
I
Right.
and I'm
Yeah.
glad I did, because about 90% of them were all these thirst girls out there, just with either they're so obvious, even if
Yeah.
they don't have their hotgirlcams.com or whatever in their like little website description. They're so obvious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No question.
But each one of these actually did. There were two other people though that were questionable. One of them had been on Twitter since 2012, and the only posts that they had on there were so positive that they can't be real. I mean, nobody
Yeah. I've seen those.
nobody
Yeah.
is that positive, especially if we're having your account for that long and those are your only posts. And then the other one was just reposts. So those people are sitting in limbo right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Robert, when I was talking to you about this earlier, you mentioned, I think it was Robert, it might have been Drea, but either way, one of you mentioned that they're most likely a hacked and gutted account.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Could be. Could be. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's probably what it is that somebody had signed up on Twitter back in 2012 and then just never came back, and somebody somehow got their account, and now they're using it.
And that is hashtag twit please. Well, that does it for us for today. Please follow, like, and subscribe to @NameOfPod on YouTube, Spotify, and Twitter. We'll talk to you again soon.